Welcome to another episode of Purely Seen. I'm your host, Katie Ruffino. Let's get into it. Today's topic is going to be about women in their 20s and 30s. A little bit more on my backstory. I started off growing up in a culture that when you were asked what you wanted to be when you grew up, you would say, oh, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a firefighter, a teacher, whatever thing. And instead of the question being, who do you want to become or who do you want to be? And I think from a very young age, that question gets ingrained in us. And in today's 21st century, men and women are both in the workforce. Years ago, it was the men who were able to go into the workforce and the women were the ones staying at home, taking care of the kids, turning the house into a home, basically, being the homemaker. And I don't know exactly when that's shifted, but I want to say it was in the mid to late 20th century when more women were given opportunity to pursue their own passions and careers separate from the household. And I think that that's an incredible advancement that we've made, and now there's so many brilliant women out there doing amazing things, not just being moms. And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just a different way of living. And so there is this push to create these women who are independent and self-sufficient, not needing a man. Like the idea of this girl boss, like boss babe era, has really taken force in the past, 10, 20 years especially. And that's women entrepreneurs, crushing it, killing it in the industry that they're in, and basically proving I don't need a man to live a good life. Whereas in the past, maybe that was something that most women thought about, or that's what the societal norm was, is every woman needs a man, every man needs a woman to fulfill their roles. And so lots of pros and cons with that story. And I think that in this day and age, it being 2025, I've witnessed in a lot of my friends who have grown up in the culture of women having opportunity to pursue a career, now also having that career, feeling the draw, feeling this internal urge to want to settle down, start a family, get married, be taken care of by a masculine man, and building that house, that home together, creating that family and building it together, and continuing on the legacy, the lineage for the family in the future bloodline. And I also have seen a lot of women saying, absolutely not. I am fine just as I am. I don't ever want to have kids. I might want to get married, but I'm also enjoying the freedom and independence that I have. Lots of different approaches that women are taking these days. For myself, I'm 26 years young, and I have been on the career path for very long. I was in school for 6 years. I've been on this healthpreneur journey now for the last 2-ish years. 3 if you count working in the clinic as well, full time. And I'm just kind of tired. I feel like I've been tired for a long time, and I grew up in a way that, and this is not a bad thing at all, but I was encouraged to be able to take care of myself as best as I can, doing all the inner work, getting my mental state good, my internal state good, being highly educated with a master's degree, making a 6-figure income right out of school, having the apartment by myself, being able to provide for myself basically independently. And the intent of all of that was really good because, my family, my father especially, always pushed that it's really important to be able to be independent and to be able to take care of yourself and not really depend on other people. Also knowing and also encouraging that, when you meet the right one, you don't have to give up your career. You can still be a mom and take care of your kids and be a good wife and, continue to make the home together and have your career and living in a dual income household. Now, the main reason also for that is because if you've been paying attention to the political system and the economy, most things are very expensive these days, and with inflation and everything, every price of everything is going up. And so it's now become a standard for households to be dual income, where both the husband and the wife are making money and bringing it in. Now, as far as who's taking care of the kids, if there are kids in the picture, it's majority of that is still the woman doing her womanhood thing, and the men are stepping in as well. So what I've noticed is that, and this is generalizing, and I don't want to generalize, but it might sound that way, is that this is taking women and men out of polarity. And what that means is we have masculine and feminine energy. Masculine energy is the provider, the protector, the creating the container for safety. And the feminine energy is the flow, the creativity, the expression, the emotion, the flowing inside the container, the nurturing. In the olden days, this polarity was flowing much more with these societal roles of men versus women, men being out in the workforce, going out there, creating the structure for the family to feel provided for and taken care of. And then the mom, her role is the cooking, the cleaning, the taking care of the inside, the emotions of the family and the motherly things. And so additionally, when it comes to the man and woman relationship, they probably had a better sex life. They probably had a better, intimacy relationship in emotionally, in all the different ways. And so that's just, again, this is my opinion. Everything that I share is my opinion for the most part, unless I'm throwing in some facts. I also wasn't there at that time, but based off of the way that society is going, I feel like that's just kind of how it would have been. I also could see on the other side of that, women feeling suppressed or oppressed if they had a deep desire to also work, or they didn't want to only be taking care of the kids, or maybe they have girls' day with their friends, or they're getting involved in community. But also with the way that the world has been shifting, more people are isolating themselves online. And so what's happening with that is that the community aspect just isn't there as much as it was maybe in the past. From what I've heard stories from my grandparents and watching old movies and things like that, it seemed like there was a much stronger community aspect of people supporting each other. If Sally's husband was off at war, Mary would step in and help Sally do some things. Everyone would just kind of support each other. One person in the neighborhood would, maybe be known for sewing the clothes, another person baking the bread, another person making the jams, and then they just share in community. And so everybody's kind of contributing to that. And there wasn't social media. There was no comparison. There was no, this person over here is doing this thing and traveling over here and having all of this kind of fun life. Well, we're in this situation. We don't have that. Like, what's wrong with what we've got going on over here? And so on and so forth. They just didn't really have that. I mean, there was local talk of the town, people gossiping maybe still, humans still are humans in human nature. But yeah, there's just so many different factors that are playing a role in today's society and how it's working. And so I say all of this to say that where I'm at in my life, and a lot of my friends that I've talked to are in a very similar position of where, women, especially in their 20s and 30s, are like, I kind of just feel this desire to settle down and be a wife and have kids and be taken care of and soften into my feminine more. And often I find that these are women who have learned how to have a very competent masculine side of themselves to basically protect themselves and provide for themselves because they were taught that they had to in this hyper independence way. And so I find that what makes that hard for them is that it's harder for them to soften into their feminine in relationships or to attract a masculine partner. And they might attract a more feminine man into their life. And again, not that any of this is wrong, it's just a pattern that naturally happens. And also in society, the amount of masculine men, like true masculine men, is going down because we don't have the best leaders. We have some really good leaders, but we really don't have many to promote what true masculinity actually is, to be able to provide for and take care of a woman and lead her. And so additionally with our food system, with estrogen byproducts in the meats, in the processed foods, in all these different ways, in the water, it's literally feminizing men as well, which again, inadvertently puts women in their masculine. And so I see this trend of women wanting to be provided for and kind of step more into their feminine. And maybe that means that they don't work and their job is taking care of the home. But also if the man isn't making enough money and if things are continuing to increase in price with inflation, then it puts a lot of pressure on the man to outperform maybe what his work is providing for the family. And it might require the woman then to step into her masculine a bit more and bring in some extra income as well. And so there's many different dynamics going on and many angles that you could approach this with. Bottom line is that it's happening and it's not something to be ignored. I think it's something to bring to the surface so we can address it. And I've been in many different retreat spaces, entrepreneurial groups, community support groups, where we've talked about this. And I think that it's something that needs to be brought up even more and have actual solutions. And so I have some guy friends who are stepping into the coaching space to help guide men to become more masculine. There's retreats that they could go on, so on and so forth. And then also ways that they take care of themselves, exercising, getting their testosterone in check, eating proper food, changing their relationship to substances like vaping and smoking weed and drinking alcohol and doing other drugs. Like, there's so many different things that are contributing into this greater picture. And so it's time for us all to realign and reassess our priorities here. And how do we reestablish polarity in masculine and feminine energies? Anyway, so this concept of what or how women should be in society this day is controversial. So I posted a video recently on TikTok explaining how me, a woman in her 20s, has started to feel this urge to soften even deeper. And as I've worked on my relationship with my own feminine energy, I feel this desire to do less, be more, and really step into womanhood. And I think that part of that is doing the healing feminine work that I've done. And it's also with me just growing up and maturing and getting my priorities in alignment with how I'm living my life and going about my days. And so I think that what happens is when you get into your 20s, especially your mid-20s, late 20s, women are in this stage of fertility where we are, if our general health is in check, we are highly fertile and ready to bear children, to bring them into this world. And so I believe there is this innate desire in our genes and our DNA that encourages women to procreate, because that's part of life. That's just how we continue to evolve as a species. There is this desire. Our hormones are aligning for it, and it just makes sense. Now, the way that society has gone, it doesn't always support the hormones of women. We know that. We've learned about that with even just women's menstrual cycles. If a woman is working an 8-to-5 job, Monday through Friday, it does not take into account her menstrual phases. So, it just is a very brief synopsis without getting too much into it. The cycle is about, on average, 28 to 30 days. And in the beginning phases of the cycle, day 1 starts when she bleeds or has menstruation, lasts, a couple days. After that, she's in her follicular phase. That's when her energy is most, abundant, and she feels ready to conquer the day and go out and do a lot of things, get a lot of things done, and then also can exercise a little bit more rigorously. Then ovulation happens about midway through the cycle. Energy starts to, continue to build, great for doing extensive workouts and just getting things done. Then as she starts to head into the luteal phase, and the luteal phase is right before the period, about a week or two before, then that's when she starts to feel tired. Her energy might be a little bit lower. She might need some more calories. Her metabolism increases, and the body is getting ready to shed and to bleed. She might be in her more creative or wanting to turn inward a little bit more. And so basically this is a natural cycle that has been happening for as long as women have been around. And so the workforce just simply doesn't always support that. So that's one thing, that we're already fighting our own cycle in the workforce. This is a very, very extensive topic, so we're not going to be able to cover everything in this video, but I'm just skimming the surface. If you have anything that you want to add, please comment below and we'll keep diving into it, or maybe I'll make a separate video about that. So anyway, continuing forward. So in the 20s and 30s, ready to procreate, our menstrual cycle is saying, let's flow together. The more I tap into my body, the more I start to pick up on the way that society is just not supportive of nature. And it's for a reason. There's many reasons for why that is. We won't get into it. But my privilege that I feel is that I decided to leave my full-time position to become an entrepreneur, to go independent. I actually became more free, but not in like I'm hyper-masculine independent way. It's more of like, I want more time to flow in my schedule to be able to tap into who I am and what I truly want, to allow space for when I do want to step into motherhood, to create a foundation where I feel like I can fulfill my desires of being the career woman, which isn't a bad thing, and it's actually inspirational and amazing. And also be able to be the mom that I so know and desire to be. Yeah, I think that I've had the time and space to really feel into how I want to play that role in both fields, both ways. And also at the same time, because I've been so focused on the career and figuring that part out and building a business in the beginning stages, it's very tough. It takes a lot more time even than potentially an 8-to-5 is, but you get to create your schedule. You get to have more flexibility if you so desire to. And there's no rush either. There's no you have to meet this specific quota by this date and time. You could take a year, you could take 5, 10, 15, 20 years to build it. They're really there's no rush. And so with all of that, I've just kind of been okay, I'm open to dating. I've been dating and I've been in relationships throughout, but nothing really came to the point where I was yeah, I want to settle down and actually build a life with this person. And I've believed in the past that just not the right time, not the right person. I have big dreams to fulfill for myself before I want to settle down. I have so much that I want to see of the world and travel, and it's a lot easier to do that by myself rather than if I'm with somebody else and attending to their needs. And also, especially if I have a dog or pets or children or all these things. And so I've honored that about myself. And I love that about myself, that I'm so ambitious and so passionate about what I've been working on and creating to help be of service in the health space. And there's also part of me that wonders if I would have already found my person, right? Like the fairy tale ending, and had the kids and done all of that, would I still have pursued the career? Or would I have let that go away and focus on the family? And there's many different factors that play a role in that decision and the outcome of that. And I honestly will never know because it hasn't happened that way. And there is something in me still, and also to preface, I'm in my luteal phase right now. And so the answer that I'm providing might be slightly altered because I'm in that phase of my menstrual cycle. Maybe in a week or two, I might have a completely different answer, but this is where we're at right now and we honor that. Anyway, I just wonder if that would have already played out, if I would have still stuck with the career, or if I would have let one slide, or if I would have had the balance of both, and maybe it would have made both even better. Who knows? Yeah, but when I think about my life moving forward, so much of me is like, it would be so much easier if I could just marry some wealthy man and I never have to work another day in my life, and I could just focus on being an amazing wife, an amazing mom. So much of me is like, sounds amazing, but something in me is like, maybe I'd be bored. Or would I really want that? Or is that the easier route? And there's no right or wrong answer. It's just choices. And I rationalize and justify that the fact that I don't have that in my life at this point, A, doesn't mean that it's not possible or that it won't happen in the near future or the far future. And B, because it hasn't happened, this is what's been meant to happen. Everything is divinely orchestrated and for my favor, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that being 26 and single and a businesswoman is hard. It's hard work. And every day I wake up and I question if I'm doing the right thing or if I'm on the right path. And on the flip side of that, I have full trust and surrender that I'm exactly where I need to be. And I know that if I just focus on being the best me that I can be, taking care of myself, prioritizing my health, my physical health, my mental health, my emotional, spiritual health, doing my meditations, cooking for myself, doing the self-love practices that I do, and just following my heart and following my intuition, I cannot go wrong. And I think it's good to have an idea and a vision of what you desire and actually getting clear on who it is that you want to be and what you actually want to do with your life. Because for some women, if we're just focusing on women for right now, some women are like, I just want to have my career and I love the feeling of being a badass boss babe entrepreneur, or having my 8-to-5 job that brings in a stable salary, because that's kind of like, that's the solid foundation that I need right now to feel like I can flow in my feminine in other ways. Amazing. And some women don't even want kids or to get married or have a family. They would rather be a free bird and travel around and live whatever life they want on their terms. And that's totally okay and totally possible. And there's also other women that are like, screw this societal pressure to have a career and, provide for myself and be hyper independent. I just want to have, a husband and make the cute things in my home, be able to cook for me and my family and decorate my house and go get my nails done and my hair and go on my runs or my walks and have my girls' nights and go on date nights and travel and all the things. Like, those are different examples. And there's also the in-between. Like, there's unlimited possibilities. All of these things have been done by many different people on a whole different kind of spectrum. And so I just encourage you, if you're watching this video, to not get discouraged and know that if you're feeling a pull towards one thing or another, there's a reason for that. And there's nothing wrong with it. And to just follow your heart and follow the internal pull towards something. And whatever that is, just trust that it'll all work out in your favor. that's it for today's episode. Again, if you have any comments, questions, please put them in the comments below and I will do my best to reply back to you. If you want to follow along this journey, you can follow me on Instagram at @byKatherineRufino. I also have a Substack that I send out weekly newsletter publications, and I have the link in the description below as well. And if you're interested in learning more about health, wellness, longevity, I'm doing a detox program coming up within the next month and would love to support you and guide you through that. Until next time, this is Katie.